Hey everybody, Don Peterson coming to you from the Swing Factory Golf Studio just north of Atlanta. Just finished up another day of teaching and I wanted to do a few short game videos. So I want to go over, short game used to be my strength. When I was a younger player, I had pretty good short game. So I wanted to talk to you about a couple things that you can do within your short game repertoire, I guess. And one of the things that you want to do is have more than one shot. So in the beginning, when you're a novice and you're just learning to play the game, one of the smart things you can do is have kind of firm wrists and just rock your shoulders. It's a very consistent way of being able to just chip and run shots, which is probably the smart thing to do. So you put the ball back in your stance, you just kind of freeze your wrists. Try not to use your lower body very much and just chip the ball and let it run up onto the green. And you can use, your sand wedge, your pitching wedge, your 9-iron, 8-iron, 7-iron. You can use a lot of different clubs there and get the job done. Normally you're going to have to, run it up between the bunkers or something like that and miss the long grass. But that's a nice way to get started. And then as you develop as a player, you're going to start learning to let your wrists hinge and be able to loft the ball more. And when you do that, you're going to start playing the ball more in the middle to your left side of your stance, and you're going to let your wrists start working, and then you might even have a little mini pivot, okay? So you're going to start pitching the ball, and it'll get a little bit more loft and a little bit more backspin, and you'll learn that technique. So, and then as you get to be able to hit all the different shots, you're going to learn, one of my videos was talking about, knee high, and then waist high, and then shoulder high. So you can vary the distance of your pitch shots from, maybe out to 100 yards all the way back to just, a few yards off of the green. All right, so here's what I think is kind of interesting. Once you develop these techniques, the techniques are a little bit different, okay? So, when you rock your shoulders, that's more like a putting stroke type technique, all right? And then when you start doing, wristy or more of a swing pitch shot, that's more of a mini swing. So you've got your full swing where you wind up and you turn, and then you've got your putting stroke where you eliminate all of the rotary motion and the wrist hinging and the weight transfer and all that stuff, and you're just rocking your shoulders. And I think one of the things that you got to do in the short game is you have to learn to kind of like vary, use parts of one and the other. I'll give you an example. There's times when I get off of the green and I'm trying to rock my shoulders, but it's not powerful enough. I don't have enough power. So learning how to add parts of the techniques together. In other words, I can rock my shoulders and then I can just let my wrists hinge a little bit and I can add power. I'm still just rocking my shoulders, but then if I just relax my hands, all of a sudden my wrists start hinging. So I could use that shot when I'm trying to go a little bit further. So I can, instead of just rocking my shoulders and keeping my wrists firm, I'll start rocking my shoulders and then let my wrists get soft. And when you do that, you'll immediately start hitting the ball a little further, okay? So that's kind of putting two techniques together. All right, the other thing I could do, instead of letting my wrists go soft, I could rock my shoulders, and then I could start giving a little pivot where I just kind of use my knees and my hips. I'm still keeping my wrists firm, but I'm kind of punching it more with my hips. So I keep it firm, and then I punch it more with my hips. So that's kind of mixing those two techniques together. All right, so, and then as you get further and further off the green, that's when you start having to go back to more of a full swing. So when I get further off the green, then I'm letting my wrists hinge, and I'm turning and pitching, okay, and making more of a mini swing. All right, but I think there's a lot of you who need to understand that you have these different methods where, again, there's a putting method, there's a chipping method. I mentioned, I did a video not too long ago about Paul Runyon and the Runyon method of chipping, which is, standing the club up and putting your hands forward. So that's kind of a method. And then you've got this little pitch shot method, and then a lot of people develop a full swing with like a flop shot, like Phil Mickelson, where you got the face wide open and you're just, you're breaking your wrists and sliding that club underneath the ball. So that's kind of a method of hitting a shot. So you've got all these different techniques and things that, shots that you've developed. And then there's always going to be times when you kind of have to put them together. So I think that the short game specialist And this is where even Phil Mickelson, who was a great flop shot guy, and he went back and he had to learn, he learned the hit and hold shot. And he developed another shot that went into his repertoire. Okay, so those of you who are wanting to develop a special short game, that's what you need to do. You need to develop all these different shots. I've got one shot that I do all the time. I used to play a little game called Leapfrog, and I would practice this little shot where I would just kind of rock my shoulders, and I'd hit the shot about as short as I could hit it, and then I'd try to leap over the top of it. And each shot, I'd hit a little bit. I'd try to leap over the ball that I just hit, and I call that leapfrog. So I would hit that firm wristed, where I would just stand there and not move my wrists, and I would just kind of do little short shots like that, and then I'd try to go over the top of that one, and then I'd try to go over the top of that one, and I would do that out until I got about 10 yards away from me, and then I didn't want to hit that shot any further because I couldn't hit it any further than that, just keeping my wrists firm and just rocking my shoulders. So then I'd turn around and do the exact same thing with the real wristy motion. I would break my wrists a lot like this, and I'd try to do the exact same thing, hit the shortest little shot I could hit, and then I'd try to just leap it over the top of that one. So wherever that ball was, I'm just trying to leap it over the top. And it helps you develop a touch for lagging and or dropping the ball right in the same spot. Now obviously the face open and this little mini swing, I'm getting much more of a backspin, so the ball's hopping up in the air and it's stopping. And if I'm doing the firm wristed one, this one, if I keep it back in my stance, that's going to make it take off and run a little bit, and it's going to be a little firmer shot, and it'll release a little bit more. So here's what you do. Go out there and develop all your different techniques or your different methods of hitting these shots, and then try to mix and match them a little bit, and you'll have even more shots. Now you've got all kinds of different style of shots, some that stop really quickly, some that roll a little bit, some that fly a little further, and some that don't. So try this next time you go out, and come back and see us for more tips like these at the Swing Factory.